Welcome to In the Verse, songcrafting in the Firefly Universe. With your hosts, songcrafters, and fellow Browncoats, Marc Gunn and Mikey Mason.
Welcome to In the Verse, songcrafting for the Firefly Universe. My name is Marc Gunn, the creator of the Firefly Drinking Songs show.
And I'm Mikey Mason, creator of the Beer Powered Time Machine podcast and currently the MIKEYtalks podcast.
And this is part 13 of 14-part episist series. We're rewatching.
I hear a dog.
Yes, I'm downstairs in my mother-in-law's area, her apartment, and she has a dog, so
that is an unmistakable collar ear flap going on right there.
Yes, we are rewatching episodes of Firefly. Our goal is to find themes and stories that we can write songs about.
And the first 6 episodes were funded by Marc's fans and his Gun Runners Club. He hit a milestone, and that made this show happen.
There are still more episodes of Firefly, and these last 8 episodes were funded. 2 episodes. Sorry, last.
Yeah, no, the last 8.
The last
you're
8.
right.
Yeah, you're about to change it. I see you on Google Drive. You're trying to change the doc.
Yeah, but we don't need to. I'm not even going to edit this. That's how punchy I am.
These last 8 episodes were funded by Mikey's fans, helping him hit a milestone on Patreon as well. You can still help us in this creative endeavor by supporting him at patreon.mikeymason. And wait, I have to change my URL. I know I screwed people, but hey, Patreon.
So mine is patreon.com/Mikey Mason, and you can support Marc at
patreon.com/Celtfather.
Yeah,
I know. I changed.
No longer Marc Gunn music. It is now.
No, I realized the other day I was like, I should have been using this a long time ago, but I haven't. Marc Gunn music. First of all, Marc Gunn music is too long. Yeah. And Celtfather is what I've been branding myself as for years now. So why not?
That's great. But next week you're going to be patreon.com/sci-fi-ish.
I am not. This one I can keep. Okay.
Hey, let's talk about our upcoming show.
Man, we are. Stop laughing. Just because we have no upcoming shows, and we told them last month that we had like 3,000, or at least I had 3,000. You were going on. I don't know if you remember if you listened to it again, but I was listening.
You actually were editing them on the fly as you were like cutting shows out. You had so many shows.
I know, and you were going on about that, and I was like, oh yeah, I got so many shows. Now I have none.
Yeah, about that.
I do actually have an internet concert scheduled for May 7th, and every Wednesday I'm doing, well, even that's going to change, but the Coffee with the Celtfather, which is at around 10:30 a.m. on Facebook. So I am doing shows on Facebook. Let's just say shows on Facebook. Yeah. I need to update that.
And currently, Coffee with the Celtfather is 10:30 Eastern on Facebook, and they can find you there for as long as you're doing that. And yes. I'm sure you'll post both on your Patreon and on your other social media when that changes. Right?
And my mailing list. I have a mailing list. You can go to celtfather.net. You'll find that. So, yeah.
You sure it's not marcgunmusic.net? I'm just saying.
No. I let that URL slide.
Just kidding, man.
A little bit of band news. So I also published the Pub Songs podcast, which has totally been revamped and changed this year. It's basically gone back to what it was originally, but a long time ago, what I would do is I would sing a song, I'd talk a little bit, I'd sing another song, I'd talk maybe some more, sing another song, and then the show would be over. So it was about 15 to 30 minute show of me singing and talking. But somewhere along the way, I started what I called the iPod shuffle, where basically I hit random play of music and I play it and then I talk in between, which felt easier. But then the Irish and Celtic Music podcast was kicked off Spotify for that because they don't want music podcast on Spotify. Which I heard was going to happen, so I wasn't shocked or anything, but nevertheless I was like, okay, that means I should revamp the Pub Songs podcast so we can stay up on Spotify, and it's turned into a better podcast since. I love it, and the latest episode I put out was called Cat Music and Kilts, so I'm singing some of my Irish drinking songs for cat lovers, and I'm trying to theme each of these episodes too, so check it out.
Cool. My Patreon patrons over at patreon.com/Mikey Mason are still getting a new song every Monday. That's 52 songs a year for as little as $1 a month. And you're perfectly welcome to pledge more if you can afford it and you want to, but make sure you're taking care of yourself first. These are weird times we're living in, and like being in an airplane emergency, you got to put on your oxygen mask before you put on the oxygen mask of the person who needs help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So take care of yourself first. But I am also working through about 3 albums worth of material, including the songs that we've written for this podcast that I'm going to be able to release soon. And we are going to be able to release. I know that on Selkuth, your latest CD, yes, you've got several of the songs that you've written for this podcast, but all of mine are going to be compiled on an album called Shades of Grey. So, awesome. And it's just going to be the finished versions of my In the Verse songs. So
fantastic. That's awesome.
And I'm hoping it'll be fantastic, but at least it'll be done.
Yeah. You'll have your Firefly album. There'll be another Firefly album in the verse out there. So
yes.
You want to talk about the songs from last time?
Yeah, let's do it. You actually, and people don't know this necessarily, but you wrote 2 songs last week. We only put one of them on.
Oh yeah, I was going to send you the other one so that we could. Well, I mean, it was
you wrote 2 songs, which technically gives you 3 songs from the message.
Wait. I wrote 2. Hold up, I'm confused now.
You wrote a song and you actually sent it to me, I believe, and then you said, "No, I don't like that," and I wrote this song. It's better.
No. Okay. What I didn't clarify was it was actually the same song, but it was better. So
that shows that I didn't listen to the first one you sent me.
No, that's okay. The first song that I put at the song that I put at the end of last episode is not the completed song. So what happened was I finally got down, I started writing the song a while back, and it was just sounding terrible. I had an idea, bright side of everything, basically almost a phrase that Kaylee says, or Simon says to Kaylee, you look on the bright side of every single thing. Yeah. And so that was my impetus for starting the song. And as I was working on it, it was just terrible. It was terrible. And then I went for a walk out to this park, and I just sat down and said, I'm going to write a song. I don't care how good it is. I'm going to write a song. And so I finished the song, and the song that I sent you was that finished song, but it still sucked. It was a dreadful song. So I didn't like what I did in that last one. I liked a little bits and pieces of it. So what I finally ended up doing, I played it for my wife, and she got really excited. And because the same thing that I did, the first line I absolutely love, which is the Mona Lisa never learned to smile. You came along and made her sing. She's not posing anymore. She's dancing. You see the bright side of everything. I love this first verse. And
that is great. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And I was really pleased with it, but the rest of the lyrics were just not so good. And so I started, my wife absolutely loved that line. She liked the chorus. I was changing like a couple lines in there, each time. And I was mixing up whether it was a comedy or it was a serious song. And so I solidified it as a serious song and just went with that. And then all of a sudden the form of the verse started taking shape. So the first couple lines are, here's the tragedy, but then you come along and you make things better and you see the bright side of everything, which all of a sudden, once you have that form, it helps. It helps your brain pick out how things flow.
Yep.
So that's how the song started to develop. Then my wife, she ended up writing a verse for me as well. And then she threw out this bombshell at the end, which was because I didn't say is that I didn't tell my wife that I was writing it for this episode or for this podcast or for it was originally a song for Kaylee. I didn't tell her this, so she just thought it was a great song and was fantastic. The Mona Lisa was mentioned at the beginning of the episode, but no one probably remembers that, and she had no clue that that's what this was about. So all of a sudden she says, "What if we turn the tails?" And and the final verse that comes around, which in order to hear it right now, actually I think I have a video that I've posted, but I know you can download the new version on my Patreon. But the final verse goes, "It hurts to laugh and it's hard to breathe. The pain is growing and I'm on my knees. I close my eyes and I whisper, please, just let me see the bright side of everything." So it turns into this very dark moment, but it's with a little bit of uplifting, a sort of a touch of uplifting at the end. But it's all of a sudden this whole song just really came together, and now it's like actually one of my favorite songs ever, that I've written, which is hilarious because again, I loathed the song when I sent it to you. I was like, this song sucks. Just take it. I'm done with this. I'm done with this. And then that happens.
I've had that. I didn't think they sucked, but they just weren't my favorite songs. And then I worked them out. And once I worked them out, then I really, really, truly love them. One of them is, a lot of them from this podcast, but the Sad Little King of a Sad Little Hill.
Yeah.
When I wrote it, I just kind of felt like I was just going through the motions of writing a song so that I would have a song for the podcast. And then when I worked it out for the final version, it's just got this heft to it. And it turns out that going through the motions is fine as long as it puts down the work. But then, it gets the work done.
Yeah.
You got to tweak it a little bit and you got to massage it. And then all of a sudden it's something. You got to polish the stone, man. You can cut the stone, but until it's polished, it's not done.
Yeah.
So you do a bulk of the work by cutting the stone, getting it in the right shape, but until it's polished, you just can't see it for what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what we do as songwriters.
Yep.
And last week, I'm super enthused about my song for last week, "Damaged Goods," and it was just it's about relationships and about interconnectivity and about how we're all flawed and fractured in the end, and sometimes the best we can hope for is to make a little bit of amends, even though we're screw ups, and we all are to some degree, So.
Some of us are just better screw-ups than others, man.
Yeah. And sometimes the best that you can hope for is to, have people understand that you weren't trying to be mean or anything. You're just damaged goods.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved writing the song. I felt totally invested in writing that song. And I can't say the same for every week, but sometimes it takes the work. Sometimes you just have to put the work in to get the effect out, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it really does. I mean, if you have an idea and if you think the idea is good, massage it, work with it, see what you can do, or let it sit for a while before you come back and do it. Because I've done that a number of times too. I've a whole bunch of songs that I've taken and I was like, I love something here. This is brilliant, but I don't know what to do with it.
Or do both. I've had things where I tried to fiddle with it and got frustrated and put it down and then walk away and then be going through a drawer and find the notes and like, wow, that was really good. I see what I was aiming for, and now I know exactly where to go with it.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Perspective and distance. All right. We are on episode 13 of 14. This is the next to last stop for the regular purview of this series that we saw. I mean, when we said we were going to do 14 episodes, we're going to do the 14 episodes, and we may do more or other things, but before we get there, we got to put the work in.
Yep. I mean, I can do this.
And this is, but this isn't work because this is love. This is Firefly. Let's be honest.
Right. Yeah.
So
sure.
Episode 13, Heart of Gold, written by Brett Matthews. It's his first and only writing credit in the verse. It's the third of the 3 episodes, Trash, The Message, and Heart of Gold, that were never broadcast in the original 2002 Fox run. This would have actually probably been broadcast in the spring of 2003, probably around this time of year. maybe a little earlier, maybe early spring, late winter 2003. So February, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's probably when it would have come in, late January, early February of 2003, but it never did. And as we go through this plot synopsis, especially on the last few episodes, have been slightly edited versions of the Wikipedia entries. I don't know who wrote those. They're not necessarily credited, but thank you for writing them, even though this is wordy. Wordier than I prefer.
Hey, it's wordier. It's less wordy than our first episode, so that's the important thing.
It's less wordy than us just rambling over what happened.
Right.
So here we go. Heart of Gold. At a brothel in the middle of a barren land, a powerful man named Rance Burgess, accompanied by thugs, approaches the Madam Nandy, demanding to see a woman, a woman named Pedaline. When Nandy denies the presence of Pedaline, Burgess's thugs drag out Pedaline, who is visibly several months pregnant, before Burgess, who extracts a DNA sample. He tells her he will return for his child if his test on the DNA proves the child to be his, threatening to cut it out of her if need be.
Aboard the Serenity, Inara receives a distress call from Nandy, who is revealed is a good friend. After Nandy requests Inara's help, Inara goes to Mal. She explains that Nandy and the prostitutes who work in Nandy's brothel are not companions and are not protected by the guild. After she relates their plight, Reynolds agrees to assist Nandy, but declines Inara's offer of payment for the deed. After Serenity lands near Nandy's ranch, Jane takes advantage of the hospitality of the women there, while Shepherd Book joins some of the women in prayer, and Simon goes to examine Pedaline, who will give birth soon. Reynolds gets to know Nandy, who explains the poverty that Burgess enforces on the locals.
Seeking to size up his opponent, Reynolds, along with Inara, attends a public event attended by Burgess, not informing of his alliance with Nandy. Reynolds speaks with Burgess and even examines the high-tech laser gun that Burgess carries with him. Reynolds ultimately confirms Nandy's assessment of Burgess. After Reynolds and Inara depart, Burgess receives confirmation that he is the father of Pedaline's baby. Returning to Nandy's ranch, Reynolds offers to evacuate the area with Nandy and her people rather than face a monster who thinks he's right with God and who won't back down after only a single thrashing from some temporary help. But Nandy refuses to leave her hard-earned property and way of life. Reynolds, who admires her stubborn streak, reluctantly decides to stay and accept the challenge of defending the ranch.
As the Serenity prepare for the attack by Burgess and his forces, Zoe has a tense conversation with Wash in which she insists that they will have a child in the near future. Pedaline goes into labor with Inara, Simon, and River at Pedaline's bedside. Nandy and Reynolds also spend time together, during which Nandy inquires about Reynolds' relationship with Inara and relates her own past, which includes the companion training she shared with Inara on the latter's homeworld, Sinan. She says that Inara was in the running to become the house priestess of the House Madras when she suddenly left without explanation to travel among the Alliance worlds. Nandy had never left before, however, straining at the restrictions of companion life.
She moved to this border world and assumed control of the whorehouse from its previous owner, who kept the employees there addicted to drugs, and in so doing, she improved life for the girls. Mal and Nandy gradually move towards sex, pausing only when Nandy says, "I ain't her," which Mal deflects without directly acknowledging her implication of his feelings for Inara.
Back in town, one of Nandy's girls, Shari, reports to Burgess on Mal's preparations, after which Burgess rallies his men, proclaiming women's ordained place as submissive servants to men, which he demonstrates by ordering Shari to kneel in front of him to do a few more chores in front of the crowd.
The next morning, Reynolds tries to explain his night with Nandy to Inara, but Inara calmly tells him there's no reason to be embarrassed about his sex life and also thanks him for comforting her friend. Nonetheless, Inara subsequently sobs deeply in private, and Nandy realizes that there was more to Inara's feelings than she let on.
Burgess's men attack the ranch, and a battle ensues with the Serenity crew joining forces with the ranch's residents to fend off Burgess's forces. On board the Serenity, Wash and Kaylee trap some of Burgess's men who invaded the ship, while Wash realizes that in so doing, he himself has been cut off from the bridge, preventing him from responding to Reynolds' call to join the battle. As Pedaline gives birth, Chari lets Burgess inside. He quickly storms into Pedaline's room, taking her newborn son. When Nandy tries to foil the kidnapping, Burgess fatally shoots her in the abdomen. He is pursued, however, by Reynolds, who captures him and drags him back to the ranch where Pedaline, holding her son, whom she has named Jonah, executes him.
Pedaline tells the remaining thugs to leave and orders the traitorous Chari to go with them, as she no longer has a place there. Following a funeral for Nandi, Serenity departs. Back on the ship, Inara reiterates her gratitude that Reynolds was able to comfort Nandi on what turned out to be her last night, but Reynolds can only regret his failure to save her. As Reynolds tries to broach the subject of his and Inara's unacknowledged feelings toward each other, Inara muses about how Nandi created a family and how that kind of shared strength and love makes people never want to break away. She then informs him that she will be leaving Serenity.
All right. Fun episode.
It is. Probably the most traditional Western-like episode of the Firefly series.
Yeah. It's got a lot of... there's just a lot of good characters, a lot of interactions, some great lines, was that you're my kind of stupid.
Yeah.
I love that one.
There's whores, I'm in.
I'm in. Because tell me, Wash, that I'm pretty, you're pretty. Or was it?
Where I would take you in a manly fashion.
Because I'm pretty, because you're pretty.
Because you're pretty. There are some great lines. This isn't, you know what? This episode isn't one where every second I was going, this is possibly the most quotable, but there are definitely some high point quotes in it that totally stood out in the series.
Yeah, definitely. And again, the characters, the interactions, the scenery, the background of the whorehouse is just beautiful, and the way they dress everything up. The what is it? Shadow puppets that they bring into.
Oh yeah, the Earth that was Shadow Puppet theater. You know what? The foil covering on the whorehouse that's supposed to be the whatever.
Oh yeah,
solar
beautiful
sheeting. I hated it.
Really?
It.
Oh
it
my god!
Cheap. It looked chintzy. It looked like a bad excuse to dress up setting. I did love the low-rent land speeder, though. I loved the low-rent land speeder. That was amazing. That hit me in my little Star Wars heart.
And the laser gun. I love the fact that he had a laser, and of course, battery runs out.
Of course, yeah. Well, it's the electric version of out of ammo, right?
Right, exactly. Which is just a lot of fun. Nothing struck me that particularly out of whack at all that I really remember.
No, it's a very, very, again, it's very straightforward as far as an action episode, but it's quite character driven as well. So it's a good balance between action and character and setting and dressing. And honestly, this is this is absolutely the most outspokenly liberal episode of Firefly.
Interesting.
Period. End of story. It's all about women's rights and refusing to be oppressed, and just absolutely about that. About women being equals, about having agency over their own lives. It is completely and undeniably about that. It takes some digs at religion, maybe a little bit. A man who's thinks he's right with God.
Which very true.
But this is a great this is a great episode about toxic masculinity. When people gripe and complain that all masculinity is being portrayed as toxic, there's the difference. I mean, right off the bat, there's the difference between Malcolm Reynolds and Rance Burgess, right? Yeah. And by the way, Rance Burgess, what a great Western name.
Right, it is.
But I mean, they set up this dichotomy between the two, even as far as when they do the recap of the show. Because if you watch the recap of the show, they replay Mal and Inara's kind of whole relationship, from him introducing her to Book, and Book's trying to dance around her profession by saying she's a companion, and Mal going, she's a whore.
Yeah.
To them disagreeing and lightly bantering and arguing back and forth in the playful way that they do, to all the way to her saying, I'm not sleeping with you, Mal. This is at the end of the wrap-up. This isn't even the episode. I'm not sleeping with you, Mal, so let me conduct my affairs. And he's saying, he says, are you saying I'm doing this deliberate? Right?
Yeah.
So he's even, you get these, the idea of the confused feelings in the relationship, and even in his disrespect, there's a level of respect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though that's a muddled area that I'm not really fond of.
Yeah.
But he does ultimately respect her in the series, right? But then Rance, the first time you see him, in the first minute of the episode, in the first actual exchange of dialogue, you see Rance speed up in a long brown coat, and he refers to Nandi as a whore.
Yep.
And then they have an exchange, and he says, "I'm here for what's mine." Just like it's kind of this perfect counterpoint to Mal and Inara. "I'm here for what's mine. There's nothing here belongs to you. If you don't get gone, we'll be well within our rights to drop you. The only rights you got are the ones I give you."
Right.
All right. And it's their relationship, even though she's not, I mean, they obviously, there's no love lost between them. His predilection was for pedaline, whatever. But the parallels between their relationship and Mal and Inara's relationship are just established from the beginning.
Yeah.
About there's hey, Mal is the hashtag not all men.
Right.
I guess honestly,
I was talking with someone the other
hashtag not all men.
I was talking with someone the other day, and I was speaking of toxic masculinity, and we were talking about how in Italy, the Italians. I remember going to this Italian festival, and there was a whole bunch of women dressed in these fancy clothes and such, and strutting about. And then there's the guys; they have their collars prepped up. You know, these are all teenagers and such, but their collars are prepped up, and they're strutting around. The shirts are half open, you know, and they're strutting around. It was like a peacock dance, you know. and as I was watching that exchange, I was like, wow, how animalistic we actually are, and you can see it right here. But then the person I was talking to, they pointed out how in their society, you know, yes, the guys do these cat calls and such, but it's the complete opposite of the toxic masculinity thing, because the women are empowered. They are in control of the situation in most of these scenarios. And it strikes me that same contrast where, Nandi and her whorehouse, they are empowered to be stronger, and yet they still have to deal with that complete opposite, the non-Italian male there who doesn't recognize the respect that people actually deserve.
And as far as toxic masculinity, there are plenty of examples in Firefly, Atherton Wing being probably the most blatant. Right. But this episode just seems to be this is a mouthpiece episode. Yeah. That's what this is. Yeah. You know, who has possession of a baby? You know, I don't care if he is the father. It's my baby. That's Pedaline's stance on it. This is a very progressive episode. Right. Is all I'm getting at. So that being said, this episode is all about women. It's all about women and women's strength and seeing them as people and equals and you know.
So that's the primary theme that you got out of this?
It's a super straightforward theme, man. It's and I was totally inspired by it. There are parallels through the whole thing. You know, Nandi and Inara both have the companion background, both left the companion world per se, but Inara stayed a companion. Nandi left the training and went to find her own thing. But this episode is about, I wish if I had my druthers, there would be more Kaylee in this episode, more River in this episode. But then it would have been, somebody had complained that it was the Hey Girl episode. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
But that relationship, the parallels that are struck, the triangle between Nandi, Mal, and Inara, the communication and expectations and that are there. Probably my favorite point there are 2 points in the episode that I love. My favorite is the conversation between Zoe and Wash.
Yeah, that's mine too. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, I know what mine is.
Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely, you know, I ain't so afraid to loosen something that I ain't gonna try to have it.
Yeah.
That is just...
I love Zoe.
And the other one is, I've been waiting for you to kiss me since I showed you my guns.
Right.
Well, no, I guess there's another line, and I wanted to use this line. I'm sorry, Mark, I've already written a song. I watched this last night, and this morning, and last night I started writing, and this morning I finished it. But it's like, this is just a moment in time. Step aside, let it happen. That is so badass. That is such a great line. And it just never comes, for some reason, it just never caught on. It's because it's not witty. It's not funny.
Hold on, when is that line?
It's while Petaline's giving birth, and Nandy looks at her and says, "This is just a moment in time. Stand aside, or step aside. Let it happen." And because it hurts, giving birth, obviously it hurts. And she's like, just get out of its way. Let it happen. And it'll be over. And it's just a moment in time. Step aside. Let it happen.
That is a great line.
It's an amazing line.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd have found a way to use it in the song, but maybe you can, because that's...
I might.
It's freaking incredible.
Yeah.
So, there are lots of stuff that's super, like River, when they're looking, and she's in contractions, and River looks down and goes, "Who do you think is in there?"
Right. Which is such a great question, for...
and super profound.
I know it is.
Well, also, we don't tend to think of babies as people. We think of them as babies.
Yeah.
They're obviously going to grow up to be people. We know this, but...
Right.
Babies are very not people-ish. They don't do a lot of the things that we consider people of doing, even though they are totally people.
Yeah.
But they don't hold a conversation with you. They don't pay bills.
Totally.
They don't have a job. They poop their pants and nobody gets mad. I'm just saying.
Right.
But they're tiny little helpless things, and then that whole. Who do you think is in there? Just encaptures the wonder and whimsical side of River,
Yeah.
That perfect smiling, that's almost Kaylee coming out of River. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what about you? What are you getting from this?
So, things that struck my mind, two things mainly. Number one was the very beginning distress call. Because throughout the episode, it's like there's distress after distress after distress, and it starts with that one call, but you end up, Mal meets Rance, and there's distress there, Wash's response to Zoe, about having a baby, and there's a lot of distress that could be brought into this. So that's one, and I love that what a great song title. I love it. And then the other one was Never Liked Complications, because of all the complications that happen in this episode. A lot of interactions and people, the way people are interacting, and worried about it, even from the, tell me I'm pretty, there's complications in her relationship with Simon,
I don't want to put you off of using that, but it already happened in my song.
It won't affect me. Don't worry.
It shouldn't. Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to write the exact same song that you're writing right now, man.
Really? You sound a lot like Bon Jovi.
Exactly. I will totally. Bon Jovi. Yes, I'm going to pull that off on the auto harp. So yeah, those
Irish Bon Jovi.
Hey. I've had a number of people tell me that
next week at patreon.com/Sci-Fi Irish Bon Jovi.
When I sing my song "Name on My Soul," and I have people call me the an Irish version of what's his name?
I don't know.
Neil Diamond, Celtic Neil Diamond.
Yeah, you do, you really do. That's a compliment. You roll with that. That's a compliment. That's from songwriting.
I don't really know Neil Diamond's music well enough, but I don't hear it myself. But I'm glad people enjoy it. And then of course the other one was I Ain't Afraid of Losing Something, like you had said. So I guess there was a third one that I had starred in saying I'm going to see what I can come up with.
Well, in the more I look at these, I mean, like I'm looking at these lines that I starred and didn't use, and I ain't looking for anything from you. Life's too short for ifs and maybes. These are by Mal at the end. These are great setup lines for a song. I ain't looking for anything from you. Life's too short for ifs and maybes.
Yeah.
I wish I'd never met her, then I'd never have failed her.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. There's a country song right there, man.
Yeah. I mean,
oh my God, I didn't even think about that, but that's so
well,
true.
You want a country song? I've been waiting for you to kiss me since I showed you my guns. That's a country song.
No kidding. Oh my God.
So that'd be a great country song. I'm not sure I'm the guy to write it, but or You're My Kind of Stupid. I want a song, Mark, called My Kind of Stupid.
My Kind of Stupid. Yeah, I love that line.
And
oh my God,
the problem is you're going to be tempted to make it about Jane, and I don't want it about Jane.
No. It's about anyone. It's what it's about. It's not about Jane. It's about Mal. I think as much as anything, or Nandy. Because that's my kind of stupid. All right. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah.
There's one line in the show that bothered me, and not because the line bothered me, but later on. During their preparation for the battle, Mal said, "A dead horse shoot people, not horses. A dead horse's cover, an alive horse is a whole mess of panic."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But while they're shooting people,
it looks like
the horses are just standing around.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see some panicked horses. I wanted them to be, because he's right. A panic, an alive horse in a shootout would be a whole mess of panic.
Right.
Although I'm sure that's a big production mess to get into. But there are two things that I think that really struck me about the episode. One inspired, to a degree, the song that I wrote. The other was when we're talking about toxic masculinity, Mal's reaction to Rance Burgess, to meeting him. When he tells Inara, she goes, "So what's our next move?" And we're going to get as far away from this rock as we can. We're going to get in the Serenity and get as far away from this rock as I don't remember the line exactly, and then they're all kind of stunned, and he's like, no, this guy's dangerous. He's going to kill you. You're not going to stop him with scaring, And he never says it, but he implies you're going to have to kill him.
Yeah.
And we've already learned that Mal's not above killing somebody who needs killing.
Right.
Just ask Crow episode.
Right. I know.
But sorry, episode 2. That would be the train job. But yeah. But the other thing that gets me is this whole Inara and Mal spend the whole series, and especially this episode, getting in the way of what they want.
Right.
The biggest thing in the way of what they want is them. When because the look on his face when she says, "I think it's best we keep our relationship strictly professional."
Right.
Is it because he said no payment is necessary,
yeah.
And she says, "You'll be paid. I feel it's important we keep ours a strictly business arrangement."
Right.
And of course, he digs back at her when she introduces him to Nandy. Any friend of Inara's is a strictly business whatever of mine.
Right. Yeah.
But they're in each other's way. We know what they want. They know what they want.
Yeah.
And then that's why it's so shocking at the end when she's going to leave the Serenity.
Yeah.
She's going to go. And it's just this gut punch. But you can totally see that she sets him up for him to end up sleeping with Nandy. Now, they did it. They made the choice. They're consenting adults, right?
Right.
But he wouldn't have done it if she'd have expressed any interest in him at all. If she'd have just said what she actually wanted instead of what she thought she should say because of what she thought he thought she wanted. And this is where they get in there. I mean, it's just this convoluted
complications.
And it is. And it's all very complicated. But so I was super inspired by the strength of the women in the show. And so
definitely.
And Inara's speech at the end, at the end of the episode, specifically where she talks about the strength that Nandi shows, bringing a family together and holding them together. The family she made, the strength of her love for them, that's what kept them together. And when you live with that kind of strength, you get tied to it, you can't break away, and you never want to.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of strength that Zoe shows. That's the kind of strength that we see through the series, and especially in the Serenity movie that Inara shows. That's the kind of positivity that Kaylee exudes.
Yeah.
That's the kind of fortitude that the hidden reserves of possibly psychotic fortitude hidden within River.
Yeah.
I mean, but so my song is really kind of about Inara and Nandi and Zoe. It's about all three of them. You could look at the song I wrote. It's called Ties That Bind, and it's seriously, you could say, oh, that's about Zoe, and you'd be right. Or you could say that's about Nandi, and you'd be right. Or you could say that's about Inara, and you'd be right. So that was what I was super inspired by. I'm jumping the gun because I've already written a song.
Well, looking forward to hearing that next time. All right. Well, I don't know what I'm writing yet, and I'm not sure if where this is gonna go yet. There are some ideas here as usual, and I'm gonna mess with them and see what happens.
I want to point out I guess there are a lot of favorite moments in this episode. But, when Nandi is shot, it's not a spoiler because we already spoiled it in the recap. When Nandi's killed and Mal comes out and stops in the hall looking at Nandi and then looking at Inara, and they don't say.
Oh, I know. Yeah, they're
just the look, that unspoken murder in her eyes. That they have an exchange. Mal and Inara have an exchange, and she tells him to get him and to make this right. Yeah. I mean, you can see it, and he says yes, okay, yes, absolutely. And there's so much going on there. So. I don't know whether I wish that Matthews had written more than one episode or not.
Yeah, it was a fun episode, so I could definitely see more. It doesn't have there's episodes I remember early on when I felt like they were it still ties together well, but I mean it lacks some of that super charged feeling that you end up having of some of those earlier episodes that you and I would rave about.
And also, I mean,
but it doesn't. But I can't say that I wouldn't love to see more of this. Because at the same time, it brings in a different different direction to some of the storytelling, which I think was good. It was really good. I mean, it's fun episode.
It's a nice diversion.
Yeah.
It's not what I would want to watch every episode of Firefly, but it was a good episode of Firefly.
Yeah, exactly.
It was solid. So, yeah,
it was
absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so one final thing, Mikey. Tell me I'm pretty, Mikey.
Marc, were I unwed, I would take you in a kilted, manly fashion.
Because I'm pretty?
Because you're pretty. And you sound like Neil Diamond. All right, let's break, and I'm going to record the demo of my song, and then you can write and record a demo of your song, and then we'll meet back here and show these people.
All right, let's do that. I want to start by saying I am so thankful for everyone who's been supporting this podcast and our music, and you are just absolutely amazing. Especially I want to send a big thanks to some of my gun runners over on Patreon. Thanks to Angela Hughes, Kel Burrell, Eric Ray, Sarah Crockett, William McCassick, Alexis, Brian M., James O., Jan C., Josh B., Kate D., Kurt G., Laura May S., Lisa D., Miranda Nelson, and Tim O. Thank you all so much for supporting this song. He was an alpha male, like a strong gale. He blew through your life without regret. He left destruction and pain, then came back again to hurt you and leave you said, but he rushed to your side when he heard you cry like a cowboy, though he caused your distress. You ain't a lady in need, so he better take heed. You'll destroy him in your pretty dress. By amazing grace, you don't need him. It's amazing he didn't know he was wrong. The true measure of a man is how willing he is to stand by the side of a woman who's strong. A little bit of force, he laid out a course to show you that he was righteous. But you saw through the routine, you knew he was just mean, though he tried to pretend he was pious. By amazing grace, you don't need him. It's amazing he didn't know he was wrong. True measure of a man is how willing he is to stand by the side of a woman who's strong. Yes, monsters are real, especially when they feel that their actions are justified by God. But you ain't looking to run, and you're my kind of dumb. You'll lay him right down in the sod. By amazing grace, you don't need him. It's amazing he didn't know he was wrong. The true measure of a man is how willing he is to stand by the side of a woman who's strong. By amazing grace, you don't need him. It's amazing he didn't know he was wrong. The true measure of a man is how willing he is to stand by the side of a woman who's strong. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. 'Twas blind, but now I see.
Thanks as always to my incredible Patreon patrons for helping keep this podcast and the music made, and especially in this weird time where all of the conventions are canceled. You guys are making sure that we artists are taken care of, and we absolutely appreciate it, especially in my instance, Robin Abbas, Brian Jackie, John Haidt, John Latch, John R. Woolard, Les Howard, Jeremy Jackson, and Jennifer Lewis, Scott Mealy, and Scott and Melanie Winehusen. Thank you so much. I hope you dig this song.
She's got a polished heel with a spine of steel inside her, hidden underneath her silken lace. She's as good with the fun as she is with a gun beside her. Everything tucked neatly in its place. She's much for complications. Although they do crop up now and then, you can't see the history that made her such a mystery. Every time you look, there's more to find. You think her soul's already sold, but underneath her heart of gold, you'll see the ties that bind. You'll see the ties that bind. She's the kind of strong you just can't break away from. The kind of strong that's built from more than words. And she'll never take from someone else the things that she can't make herself. She'll never let them take what's hers. She ain't so afraid of losing something that she ain't gonna try and have it then. You can't see the history that made her such a mystery. And every time you look, there's more to find. Her soul's already sold, but underneath her heart of gold, you'll see the ties that bind. See the ties that bind. Who she is what she loves, and she's lost far more than enough. But she won't back down, she won't turn away. You never see the history that made us such a mystery. And every time you look, there's more to find. You think her soul's already sold, but underneath her heart of gold, you'll see the ties that bind. You see the ties that bind. You can't see the history that made us such a mystery. And every time you look, there's more to find. You see the ties that bind. You think her soul's already sold, but underneath her heart of gold, you'll see the ties that bind. You'll see the ties that bind.
Thanks so much for listening. You can download these demo songs when you sign up on our Patreon pages. Find out more about Marc Gunn and Mikey Mason on our website and how to support us in music on Patreon.
We'd love your comments, songs, lyrics, or links to videos to share in the next show. Just use the hashtag #InTheVerse. You can post them on the Blue Sun Tour Facebook page or email intheverse@fireflydrinkingsongs.com.
In the Verse was produced by Marc Gunn and Mikey Mason. Sign up on our website to find out more about the Blue Sun Tour at fireflydrinkingsongs.com/In the Verse.